So the short and fast way to go about doing this that doesn't involve downloading any potentially sketchy programs is to just go ahead and download Cheat Engine. Cheat Engine is not sketchy. It's widely distributed. It's been used for years. It's not a big deal. So I assume that you will know how to download and install that and open it. You should probably take the tutorial for at least a few steps, but I'm kind of going to show you how to do it anyway. So just hang in there. Uh, the big important thing you're going to do here is grab, no matter how far along you are in this, the total number of buildings you currently have, which for me is 111. So once we have your total number of buildings, you're going to switch over to Cheat Engine here. And the first thing you're going to do is click on this to select a process to open. Open that. Select Medieval Dynasty and open that. If it says anything about loading any tables, click No. Now we're going to put that value up here, 111, and do a first scan, and it's going to do its little thing across the top here. And the important part is the next thing we're going to do is drop this down to one value less, and then go back over to Medieval Dynasty. And then we're going to pull out our building hammer here, right click, go to destroy, and we're going to find a sacrificial building, because what we're trying to do is find the variable that controls our total number of buildings. So we're going to blow this up. One woodshed down. I like that because it's just 6 logs. Very easy to do. So now you're going to see we have 110 buildings. So now we need to find 110 in Cheat Engine. So of that remaining, we're going to do a next scan. Don't do new scan, do next scan. And of the 110, or 111 that were there, only 2 are set at 110 right now. Well, that one's going all over the place, so you can actually do a next scan again and gets rid of it. So one of these 2 are going to be the 110. Now you may have a whole bunch because it'll depend on which number you have. And if that's the case, you can actually just go back over and find another sacrificial building, like this one here. And that's why I always have just a few hanging out. I can crush this one. And when I go back over to Cheat Engine, I'm now looking for the one that is 109 and not the one that is kind of freaking out. So now I know it is this one. So always have at least 3. I've never really had to do more than 2, but always have at least 3 of those little woodsheds around to break. And now that I have the one that is 109, I can double click on it. And the easiest way to do this is just to set the value. So this is like, I don't know, 5 or something below 30. Click OK, and then click this little active box here. And what that'll do is it'll continually reset this back to 5. And now you'll see that I can go back over here. I can make a building, go to resource. I'm going to rebuild those woodsheds that I just broke. Just so, that's the very first thing you should do every single time is rebuild these woodsheds. So always have at least 12 logs nearby when you start doing this before you're going to build something else. And you'll see, no matter what I do, I now have 5 out of 30. And that is the easiest way to go about doing that, is just setting it to active. And now I can build all the things I want to do. And I will have to do this. That will not stay after a reload. That will not stay after you restart the game. So you will have to do that anytime you want to do that. So get a whole bunch of logs together, a whole bunch of sticks, logs, rocks, whatever. Do this, and then just sort of do some urban planning and lay out your town. Because the foundations will cost you taxes, but they won't degrade over time. So you only have to do this once, run through, set all that stuff up, you know, build out your roads and build out your little town, and build as many as you want, but you probably really don't want to go above 50 or so. Now, if you want an alternative to that, as opposed to having the Cheat Engine running within an active memory adapter the whole time, because if you uncheck that and were to then modify that value at all, that's going to change. Once you have this value here, if you double click on the address and you subtract, this will almost always end in an 8. The offset, the address will always end in an 8. If you set this to 4, for example, right now, that's going to change to 30. Blip. So 30, this is the maximum amount you're allowed to build. If you like, you can just set this to, say, 300. And that doesn't have to run active. This is just, you've modified the value, and this value will not change, and it's probably a little safer. It's the way I generally go about doing this. Because now if you notice when I open this, I now have a building limit of 300. So I'm actually modifying the actual limit, not the total number of buildings running. So at this point, if I were to smack this with a hammer and then open this back up, I now have 110 out of 300. And that's just the way I prefer to run it. It's just a little safer. And that is how you modify your maximum building limit Okay, so why would you not want to do this? And quite frankly, you are saving you from yourself. Because when you have a whole bunch of buildings, that means you're the one that gets to repair a whole bunch of buildings because you're the only person that can do that right now. We don't have a handyman. I desperately want a handyman, especially when you have over 110 buildings. It becomes quite tedious very quickly, and you'll see here. I have been rather lazy, and I'm just letting them all get the pieces down below 50%. That way I only have to repair all at once. I used to repair once per season. Now I repair once every couple of years because I have tier 3 buildings. But you also notice that that is a lot of buildings, and that very quickly makes the UI very difficult to deal with as you flip through all of these. And flipping through all of these becomes necessary because when you have a population of over 200, you have to flip through all of these and find out who is living alone and who you can assign another tenant to, and maybe you can find somebody within that age bracket that is, of the opposite gender and that isn't already happily married, and maybe this person works. What is it, 47, 48? Hey, look at that, those two, a happy couple. So, you're starting to see how this is becoming a nightmare of flipping through all the buildings and the twice as many people. Now, your taxes do go up, but that's pretty easily managed. A lot of it is the fact the UI is probably going to get an overhaul to be able to deal with all of this, like the ability to, I don't know, put all the houses into a single tab or something. But what you're trying to do here is, or what I'm trying to say here is, don't go above like 40 or 50 because the game becomes very tedious very quickly. So thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed it. As always, when using Cheat Engine, back up your saves before you start playing with it, and please do try to beat the game normally before you start modifying anything. It's just a lot more fun that way. Until next time.